We are going to talk about trees and the dangers they pose for truck driving. By the way, none of this was covered in truck driving school, and it was not covered by my trainer either. And I'm tired of hearing the excuse that that truck driving is complicated and you can't possibly fit everything that you have to cover in a 4-week course. Well, stop making it a 4-week course then. In fact, I actually think that truck driving should be like a 2-year thing like they have in community colleges. It should take 2 years to go through the training because there's so much stuff that needs to be covered that's never covered in training. And it's really stupid to say that it's perfectly fine to not train someone for everything they have to face when in the career. I don't think the training should end until after you've covered everything that is required for the career. Okay, so this story starts at a Family Dollar facility in Rome, New York. I was about to pick up my first trailer. This is how the conversation between me and my fleet manager went when they basically gave me my briefing on basically what was supposed to go on when making this delivery. Oh, and by the way, before I start the story, I'm going to do something I usually don't do, and I'm going to set up some guidelines for the comment section. Now, I'm tired of getting hate mail and people just flat out insulting me in the end of these videos, so here's what I'm going to do. If you can't talk to me like an adult and explain with adult words what you feel about the results of this story, then your comment's basically going to get deleted. And let me explain myself. Chances are, if you want to give me constructive criticism, you are a truck driver, so chances are you are also an adult. So chances are you can come up with words other than idiot to explain how you feel, or basically explain what I did wrong in this story. And I already know what I did wrong in the story, and I'll explain that in the story, so there's no need for you to reiterate it either. So if I see the word idiot one time in your comment, it is going in the trash automatically. There's nothing wrong with giving me constructive criticism. There's nothing wrong with telling me you don't like the decisions I made and explaining why. But when it starts getting to insulting, it's going in the trash. So here was my original plan. My plan was to drive the truck to a truck stop in Allentown. Then my parents were going to pick me up in my car and take me home, where I would have my 2 days off. Then they would drop me back off at the truck stop, where I would pick up the truck and take it to its destination. This is exactly what my trainer did on his day off. He would drive the truck to a truck stop and park it. His girlfriend would pick him up. Then he would leave the truck there for 2 days, come back, and pick it back up. So I didn't think there'd be a problem with that. But then when the manager found out that that was what my plan was, he told me that I couldn't take the truck to a truck stop. He said that the company policy was that the truck had to be on you when you took your 2 days off, which doesn't make any sense to me. I tried to explain to him that it is impossible to park a truck in front of my house because there isn't enough space for it. And I even showed him a Google Maps, a Google Earth picture of the area that I live in. It is, I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever tried to park a truck in Easton, Pennsylvania, but it's impossible. There's not enough space anywhere to park a truck in Easton, Pennsylvania. But he insisted that I had to take the truck with me on my days off, and I couldn't leave it in a truck stop for some reason. So here I was trying to find a place to park near my house. Okay, so this is the street that I live on, Spring Garden Street in Easton, Pennsylvania, and as you can see, there is not enough space to fit a truck here. There are too many cars parked on both sides of the road. And you might be wondering, why didn't I just ask these people to move? Well, where are they going to move? These are the houses that they live in front of. And there's very limited parking in the city of Easton, Pennsylvania. And there wasn't enough room in the downtown area either. And even if I could find enough room, I would end up having to spend several $100 on using an entire row of parking meters or something, assuming it's even legally possible to do that. Plus, the parking meters there have a time limit of 2 hours anyway, so even if I did try to do that, that option wouldn't have worked either. So here I am desperately trying to find a place to park the truck. that supposedly has to be near the house, as that is the supposed company policy. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why my trainer got away with it if it supposedly wasn't the correct way to have your truck parked on your days off. But apparently, it's only wrong when I try to do it. So I found another parking lot behind my house. I figured, well, I can see this parking lot from my bedroom window, so it's not too far. However, I can't park in that parking space because this parking lot is for employees of the city of Easton, so I cannot park there either. And even if I could, there's probably not enough space for the truck anyway. So I went down Wood Avenue, the second closest street to my house. It was the only other option I had if I could only park near the house. This was the only block I could find anywhere near my house where I could park the truck. It was like a block and a half away from the house. It was an entire city block where there weren't any cars parked in that area at that time, so there was enough room for me to park there. However, when I parked there, the trailer hit one of those trees you see on the north side of the road, and it ended up puncturing a small hole in the trailer. I think it's really stupid that the city of Easton, Pennsylvania planted all these trees on the street, because there's no sign that says trucks aren't allowed on this road. There shouldn't be any problem with trucks driving on any section of the road, but only in this one section where you would try to parallel park the truck would there be a problem, because the trees are not tall enough to fit over the trailer. Why would you plant trees that aren't tall enough to fit over a truck on a road that trucks are allowed on? It would make more sense if you did it on a street that specifically had a sign on it that said trucks weren't allowed on it, but not on this street, because trucks are allowed on it. Just doesn't make any sense to me. In addition to puncturing the trailer, I also knocked down one of the trees. Actually, I didn't knock down the tree, I broke a branch off of it. But either way, apparently it was damaged so much that the city had to plant another one in its place. Or they could have just left the area blank. I mean, I don't see why a tree absolutely had to go there in the first place. It was a big enough nuisance as it was, blocking trucks from parking in the area. Interesting fact, it doesn't cost that much to repair a puncture in a trailer. At first you think, oh no, you punctured a trailer, that's such a terrible thing. But actually all they do is patch it up with tape. But either way, they make it seem like it's such a terrible thing that you put a tiny hole in the trailer. A puncture is so tiny that you probably couldn't even fit a pencil through it. But it's still apparently so terrible. Like, they make it seem like, oh no, you just damaged thousands of dollars worth of equipment. No, it was probably only like $2 to replace, because all they did was tape the hole up in the first place. And you know how I know this? I have a job where I'm supposed to load trailers with packages, and these trailers have lots of punctures in them most of the time, and they're all just patched up with tape. So clearly it doesn't cost that much to repair a puncture. But the companies would lead you to believe that it does. Okay, so when I brought the trailer back to the facility, I had an incident on my record for striking an overhead object because I hit the tree branch. You know what's funny though? When I was sent to the office, they asked me why I didn't just take the truck to one of their trailer drop-off areas. And I'm like, because you told me that I couldn't, and it had to be parked in front of my house. See, this is the kind of stuff you have to put up with when you work for a trucking industry. They'll tell you to do one thing, and even if you warn them that it's not going to end up well, they'll make you do it anyway. And when it doesn't end up well, they blame you for it, and then they ask you, why didn't you do something else? But they don't even tell you that that option was available in the first place. In fact, another thing I've noticed with trucking industries, they always wait until you get into an accident to explain to you what you could have done to avoid it. Rather than in the orientation explaining everything that you could do to avoid an accident, rather than the trainer explaining to you everything you could do to avoid an accident, they wait until you actually get into an accident to tell you what you could have done differently. And that is really frustrating. because it means that you don't get a chance to learn from the mistake until after the mistake is made. But after you've made the mistake, it's already too late, because all it takes is one mistake to get you fired. And this is why I will never drive a truck again. Instead, even though it'll only be a few months before these incidents go off my record and I can theoretically get another job, I still don't want to drive trucks because I'm just going to have to put up with this stuff again. So I'm just going to go to college and get a bachelor's degree in architecture, because I'd rather have a job where your rate of success depends on how smart you are, rather than whether or not the company decides to tell you how to do your job properly. Or whether or not someone decides to give you, to falsely accuse you of something, because I've actually been falsely accused of hitting a trailer at another job I drove trucks for.